What is going on, guys? Today I found a video called Creationist Stumps Evolutionary Professors with One Question. I thought this video was pretty interesting just because these are people who have dedicated their entire lives basically to studying evolution. All right, people with multiple degrees, people who teach on college campuses, people who have done extensive and know extensive knowledge in evolution. Okay. And this question I thought was pretty neatly presented. If you guys don't know what creationist is, we believe that organisms and the universe was created by a divine being, aka the Bible. Okay. And some people like to think that science and the Bible don't align, like they have to be going against each other, like they can't make sense. That's just simply not the case, guys. I've been studying like a bunch of different things out there, like macroevolution. I've been looking at evolution. I've been looking at abiogenesis. I've been looking at a couple of these things, and some of them I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Some of them I'm like, wait, what? You know, and there's things out here that you can go and check. You can go do research on yourself. I just thought this is a pretty good and neat video, how it's presented. If you guys want an exact definition of what evolution is, I pulled it up over here before we start the video. The process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms during the history of the earth. Okay, so I wanted to kind of bring that up before we start this video, but yeah, let's get into it.
You're an atheist?
I am definitely an atheist, yes.
Now, why are you an atheist?
Why am I an atheist? Because there is no God.
Atheism assumes that you can disprove the existence of a God, but I'm an atheist.
What Darwin showed in his work on evolution and natural selection is that we don't need to invoke any supernatural force or power to account for the development of life through time on Earth.
The ongoing processes that are observable in today's world.
The canine kind, the coyote, and the domestic dog, and there's the feline kind, which is the cats, the tiger and the kitten, and you've got humankind. So Darwin said there'd be a change of kinds over many years. So could you give me one example of observable evidence of a change of kinds?
So, for instance, the fossil record shows the common ancestors of all carnivores, that cats and dogs were once linked, once united by a common ancestor.
How long ago?
This, I believe, was like 60 million years ago.
The scientific method must be observable and repeatable. So could you give me one piece of observable evidence for Darwinian evolution?
Okay, I would point to, as one great example, is look at the genetics of the stickleback.
What's that?
So stickleback fish are a very interesting collection of species that were recently isolated after the end of the Ice Age.
What did they become?
They're various species of sticklebacks.
They stayed as fish.
Well, of course, human beings are still fish.
Human beings are fish?
Why, yes, of course they are.
Could you give me an example of Darwinian evolution, not adaptation or speciation, but a change of kinds?
These are changes of kinds.
They're still fish.
They're distinctly different fish.
We have
I just want to pause it for a second because I don't know like if that was actually like a serious argument there. He just said human beings are fish, or was he trying to be like sarcastic, or he's messing with them, or what? Maybe there's more to it that I don't understand, but I just think that like he asked for an observable basically example that we can have today as it is now. Not a fish staying a fish, but like a fish turning into a frog turning into a monkey turning into like, you know, kind of like, you guys seen those freaking pictures of evolution. All right. He's asking for an observable example of that. Okay. And he named something, but he said it took 50 million years, right? He said 50 million years ago, he said that the cat and dog had a common ancestor. Okay. And so I want you to think about something, is that if you are waiting for proof of something that takes 50 million years to prove, doesn't that sound a whole lot like faith? I don't know. Let's keep going.
thousands of examples.
Can you give me one?
I can give you thousands.
Just one.
For instance, I would say look at Lenski's experiments with bacteria then.
So what did the bacteria become?
The bacteria are still bacteria, of course.
That's not Darwinian evolution. That's not a change of kinds, is it?
It is a change. It is a change in the genetic makeup of the bacteria, which
But
is
they're still bacteria. So what did the bacteria become?
A new kind of bacterium.
So it's still bacteria. There's no change of kinds. To summarize, the observable evidence that you give me for Darwinian evolution is bacteria becoming bacteria.
No, it is bacteria acquiring new metabolic capabilities.
You said before that...
But see, what he just said is bacteria becoming new, having new metabolic, did he say new metabolic activities? Basically, let me back it up. Let me see.
Abilities.
You said before...
Okay, so he said new metabolic abilities. Wouldn't that be adapting, right? Like, for example, if you go live in Antarctica for a while, your body would adapt to colder weather, right? It wouldn't be as horrific as it was the first month you lived there compared to a full year. So I'm not really sure that that's actually evolution. Wouldn't that be more adapting if they're...
Evidence that you give me for Darwinian evolution is bacteria becoming bacteria.
No, it is bacteria acquiring new metabolic capabilities.
You said before...
So he said bacteria acquiring new metabolic abilities. Okay. I don't know if that's evolution. I think that's more of adapting, isn't it? Like, if I go lived in a really, really cold climate, okay, the first month it would be terrible. It would really suck. But by a year from that time, it wouldn't be like, you would be more used to it, right? Your body would have adapted to it. So I'm not sure that gaining new metabolic capabilities is the proof of someone like a cat turning into a giraffe. You know, like, that's an extreme example, but I'm just saying, like, just because you adapt to something and the body adapts, like the mud skipper, for example, I just read that, like, its dorsal fins and shoulder fins, like, adapted so it can climb and walk and stuff like that, but they always had them. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they just grew them out of thin air and then they start getting wings and turned into birds. Like, that's not how that works. So he's asking for an example of a changing kind.
That there is lots of evidence for evolution. I just want one observable evidence for Darwinian evolution.
No,
just one.
But I gave you some. You don't want...
Not some, I want one.
Wait, you don't want that.
I want one. Yes, I do. I'm pleading with people.
You asked me to tell you when I've watched one species evolve into another. Isn't that right?
No, one kind into another. There's 14 different definitions of species. So I want a change of kind.
When you're talking about kinds or change in families, you're actually talking about macroevolution. You're talking about changes on the level that separate, say, cats from dogs.
So could you give me any examples of Darwinian evolution?
Well,
okay, that's important, because what he just said is that macroevolution is the change of kinds, okay? Which means that what he is talking about, this bacteria turning into another bacteria, is a form of a species evolving. But what he is asking is a form of macroevolution, how we came to be, okay? Because that's important. A kind turning into another kind to get another kind to another kind to where we all are here where we are now. So that's macroevolution.
When you say examples of that, then you have to sort of look at over a longer time frame.
When you say change of kinds, you mean the evolution of one species from another or to another? Yes, we have that in action, actually, in the Galapagos.
Could you give me one instance?
Yes, we have an example from a group of birds called Darwin's finches.
What did the finches become?
They become genetically new and anatomically new, recognizably different
So
species.
there's still finches?
Well, of course, they're still finches. Yes.
There's no change of kind. Darwin spoke of a change of kind. Can you think of any observable evidence for Darwinian evolution where there's a change of kind?
Change of kind. Change of kind. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little longer.
You give me...
There's nothing wrong with what he says. That's just being honest. Sometimes we just don't have the answers genuinely. But I think it's crazy is because, listen, the guy at the beginning, if you remember, he started out, I'm an atheist. All right. I don't believe there is no God. Okay. If you don't believe there is no God and you're putting your faith in Darwin's evolution theory, I would be pretty scared. Right. Because, again, if I get Christianity wrong, right, I just wind up in the same spot as everybody else. But if you put your faith in Darwin's evolution theory and you get that wrong, you're going to either end up in a place you think you're going to go to when you die, or you're going to wind up in a place where God tells you you're going to go to because you're an atheist. You don't believe there's a God. You don't feel like there's a reason for one.
Anything that I can see, observe, and test, which is a scientific method for Darwinian evolution, a change of kinds?
Test and observe.
Could you give me observable evidence, which is the scientific method for Darwinian evolution, a change of kinds?
Okay, I gotta think about it. So you want the evidence of it?
I would say
I cannot, I think. It's a hard question, actually.
Basically, the problem here is like they don't know because it's not possible, is what I'm understanding. Is that basically in order to observe this, the guy at the beginning said that it would take over 50 million years. So if you are trying to observe something that takes over 50 million years, that goes back to, is that something you want to put your faith in? Because you could be wrong about that observation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man.
Mitochondrial DNA. So, can you repeat the question again?
Could you give me any observable evidence, just one, for Darwinian evolution?
Let me think about that for a sec.
Observable evidence, something where we don't have to exercise faith. Something that can be observed, like the scientific process, observable.
That's a good question. That one I'm not quite sure.
So you can't think of any observable evidence for evolution?
No.
How do you know it's true?
I'm not sure.
So Darwinian evolution is not observable, it's not scientific.
I guess so.
So it's unscientific, you can't prove it.
It's scientific, actually. You could prove it. It could be proven, just...
Do it for me.
That's hard. I don't... That's just too broad of a...
It's unobservable, that's why you need millions of years.
Yes, exactly.
You're trusting the biology majors and the biology professors know what they're talking about, and they can't even give me evidence of a change of kinds.
Well, then there isn't one. If they don't give it, then I wouldn't say there was.
Yeah. I just go on what I've seen and what I've learned from class.
So you believe?
Yeah.
You know what that's called?
What?
Blind faith.
Blind faith.
I thought this was kind of neat because it just kind of shows that you don't have observable evidence for this theory. It takes millions of years. So you are putting your faith in the biologists and things that people are passed down to you through classrooms. Just like how we are putting our faith in God. The difference is, though, is that we can go and get evidence for the resurrection of Christ, right? Like there is proof that we could not find the body. There is proof that we had eyewitness testimony. There's eyewitness accounts. Okay. So like there's confirmed biblical locations. So it's like we have evidence, observable evidence you can still find and get today. And then people choose to discredit the Bible, call it a bunch of bullcrap, and then tell me that they believe in a theory that's been passed on down to them that would take 50 million years to observe. Does that not sound like faith, bro? I don't know. I thought this video was kind of neat, man. If you made it this far, smack that like button. That's gonna do it for me, man. I'm out. Peace.